Ah, oh, been a minute. Just need to find out what's going on with this recording. Oh, this flat. Let's feedback. Let's feedback. Okay. Sorry about this, bruv.
All right,
Uh,
cuz.
sort out this last
No
one here.
worries. No worries.
Sort out this last one here. Uh, Lesson. Okay. Zoom, zoom. Meeting. Right. Okay. So, do you want to do the open introduction for us this time, please, bruv?
Yes, indeed. Welcome along, people, to our Football Referee Weekly podcast. I am Trevor Gear, and he calls me bruv.
And I am Emmy Hickins, and he calls me Cuz. Welcome to the football referee. Now, Morgan Rogers is it really gone to Chelsea or is it still a rumor? I heard he's going to
I
Chelsea.
don't know. I mean, I know that was where he was supposed to be going, but I don't really know whether any of these, excuse me, any of these transfers have been completed. For example, I do think Elliot Anderson has gone to Manchester City, but then one day you read Elliot Anderson's gone to Manchester City. So I thought, well, I thought I knew that. So in the case of Morgan Rogers, I'm not sure. But what I
Hmm.
also think is that Jordan Henderson has gone or is going to Chelsea. I think that's kind of happening. So kind of surprised in some ways for reasons we may have touched on when we talked about him going to the World Cup. But I
Hmm.
guess Chelsea are looking at him as a man of a lot of experience. He was quite a good captain, a very good captain at Liverpool. And I think he went out after Saudi, he went to Ajax for a little while, Brentford, and Brentford have agreed to release him, release his contract. So, yeah, he's gone to Chelsea. And of course, typical Chelsea, good luck to them. Well, they've got all the money in the world, and it seems they are able to spend at will.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know how it all sits with the financial fair play stuff, but they obviously are aware of all that. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting season to look at Chelsea, see how well they progress this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I think they won their preseason game. I can't remember if that was yesterday or the day before. They won by 6 goals to 4. So that was a tough one.
Who were they playing? Do you know? I don't know who
Yeah,
they
they were
played.
playing a club in Aus is it Sydney team or something? Sydney,
Yeah,
something is some club in Sydney. Yeah, so
right.
it wasn't any club in England. It was some club in Sydney. I think it was called Sydney something. But the reason why I brought him up is we're looking at the biggest transfers, right? Um, Now he's just a little. He's about one, two, three, four, five. He's about the fifth highest paid transfers. So the top one is Neymar at 222 million, Kylian Mbappe at 180 million, Usman Dembele at 148, Alexander Isak 145. Now these are euros, not pounds.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
145 million. Now he stood at 137 million euros. Is it worth that much? Or is Chelsea just,
This
yeah.
is Morgan Rogers we're talking about. Yeah,
Yes, Morgan Rogers, yes.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think anybody can say yes, he definitely is, or no, he definitely isn't, because it's all about where the I think I'd use the word the zeitgeist of football transfers, where the current kind of atmosphere around football transfers is at any one given time. So, yeah, he may be worth that in today's market. The question is always, what is today's market, isn't it? It's a bit like the current petrol prices, as you probably know.
Yeah.
We've had a period, they've been coming down because I guess the Strait of Hormuz, whatever it's called, has been kind of open, or some of it. And it came down, I don't know about where you are, but down here, I think it was about 132.9 for unleaded petrol, but now it's crept up to 143, and in some I've actually seen it like 161 in some stations. So I mean I've gone off subject there, but the point is that it's a fluid situation with that, and I think football is kind of in that situation. If you get a club, a very rich club, coming out and buying Neymar or one of these other players, Mbappe, they've got the money, and of course that instinctively or automatically brings up the prices of people further down the chain. Now, I don't know what they value Haaland at. I mean, I'm sure I've read 200 million pounds or euros before this, so it'll be interesting if he should ever go. Not least now that Pep's gone. We all would be interested to see how Maresco is going to get on there. Whether they will lose that sprinkle of magic dust that Guardiola gave them. And of course, Maresco was his assistant, wasn't he, up until a couple of years ago? So he will
Mm,
know the club, the people behind the scenes and on the pitch, most of them, I guess. Whether
mm,
he's as good a manager as Guardiola is yet to be seen. I'm not
mm,
sure he excelled at Chelsea. I'm not sure he was there long enough. I don't know. But
mm,
so it's going to be very interesting. But if they don't kind of live up in the early part of the season, if the players become aware, having gone there because most of them because Guardiola wanted them, people
mm,
like Mark Gay, for example. Now Anderson obviously is going there knowing Guardiola's not there, but a lot of them, Haaland, who I think had a long contract as well, they may ultimately think if they don't have a good start, maybe up to Christmas, well, it's not going so well. It's not the same without Pep because he did have that magic dust about him. You never know. He might be up for sale, and I'm sure there will be some takers of Haaland if he was for sale, or takers who can afford it. The obvious things are going to be Real Madrid or Barcelona, although Barcelona may have problems with some of the buying because of financial fair play. I don't know, but perhaps
mm,
that's all in the past.
mm,
But yeah, the price of a footballer is very much linked to what the market is at the time. And I'm not really talking about those perhaps under 50 or 60 million. I mean, that kind of is a market that stays put at the present time. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, is Morgan Rogers worth that sort of money?
mm,
If I'm honest, if I had to make a decision off the fence, I would say probably not. Not any
mm,
insult to him. He's a very good player. He is. But is Morgan Rogers one of the players we think of as elite players, like the ones you
mm,
mentioned at the top end of that? And if he's fifth or sixth in line, as I say, he's a great footballer. I'd love him to be at Crystal Palace. So it's nothing against him. But whether
mm,
he is in that top echelon of footballers in this country, I'm not
mm,
sure.
mm, mm. Yeah, I mean, like you said, there's an upward, it seems to be like an upward kind of jet stream or trajectory of players' wages just going is going
Yeah,
astronomical up in price.
yeah.
It won't be long now before we start hearing players worth 500 million, 1 billion, yeah. 1 million,
Well,
you never
yeah,
know.
it will get
You
there
never know.
eventually, I expect.
It will.
I'm
It
sure
will.
it will. Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
will, yeah. Now, the next one is now, by the way, you did mention Haaland, Erling Haaland, and you said,
I
well,
did.
we wonder what yeah, you said
Yeah,
we wonder what his market value would be
what he would be. Yeah, yeah,
at this point. Well, according to this article, he's had a 20% increase. He's had a 20 million euros increase
yeah.
on his market value, and he's now at 220 million.
All right, I
200.
said 200 million, didn't I?
Yeah.
So 200
Uh,
million. Yeah.
so you saw you were right there in the ballpark. And Yamil uh,
Yamal, yeah,
Lamine Yamal. That's it.
yeah, hard to
Yeah.
say.
I know. Lamine Yamal is on the same price tag. I would have thought he would have been a bit more pricier.
Would you?
Uh,
More expensive.
More expensive, yeah. I would have thought that. But it is at the same value as Haaland, 220
Yeah.
million. Yeah. Matter of fact, he's had a 20 million euros increase on his as well. So yeah. But I think the kid is got really bright future. Is
Yeah,
is
as
is got a
yeah.
really bright future at Barcelona.
What it
Um
shows, though, just on the value. I mean, you say he's up there, and I guess he would be because he's a brilliant young footballer, and he's only 19 as well.
yeah.
But what it does show is only with all these top players we're talking about, and a few others, as I say,
Yeah.
obviously we've included Haaland, but
Yeah.
a few other really elites, the best of the best, they can only ever be transferred to a club that can afford them, and that's a handful of clubs really in the football world.
Mm,
It really is. So all this sort of thing perpetuates inevitably is that the best clubs will get better and they'll be dominating their leagues, which we see, don't we?
mm,
To a large degree in the Premier League, we see it in La Liga, the Bundesliga, and around the world. And I suspect in South America it's true as well. So I'm not sure. Is the question I would ask is that good for football and football's future? The fact that so few clubs can get hold of the very best creme de la creme of the footballers, which is inevitably going to make them win the things, win the cups, the trophies, the titles. Is that good for football that it's so dominated? I mean, we know in Scotland that it's always been dominated really by Celtic and
Rangers.
Rangers. Now, Hearts came very close last season, didn't they? It was quite a
Mm,
well, it was an exciting end of season, all on that game, which I believe Celtic won it at the end, at the end of the season. So, good luck. And Hearts came close, but I think Aberdeen were another club, not very many, if any others, who've won it in the last number of years. So Scotland is a very dominated football society, but then so is England, really, because we know, I mean, Liverpool not so good last season, but Man City, Arsenal, and Liverpool, if they come good, we're dominated by those teams. And really, much as I love the Premier League and I watch it, I go to games most weeks, home and away. Um, it does sometimes you get frustrated thinking, well, it's not a level playing field. Another good analogy, it's not a level playing field. You feel your team, if you are one of the supporters of most of the teams, are at a disadvantage because, you're up against the very best players. Now, of course, the great thing about the Premier League is it is true to a degree, to a large degree, that any team can beat any other team. But it's always nice to say that, and occasionally it works. But not always. So the best teams, who would bet against Arsenal or Manchester City winning the league this season before a ball is even kicked? I mean, you'd be a brave person or foolish with your money if you put a bet on saying, "Oh, I think Arsenal and Man City they won't be in the top two or three," because the fact is we can almost guarantee one or both will be. So, is that good for football? Yeah, I suppose we know we have the most competitive league in the world, so we're very fortunate in that score. But it's not a level playing field, and I suspect as time goes by, that lack of being level will be more exacerbated by these kind of transfer prices.
mm. That's very true, yeah. Well, isn't that the case with everything else in life, where You know, you'll always have people that have a bit too much and they control the have-nots. You know, it's just the same
Yeah, I
thing.
mean, I couldn't disagree with that,
Yeah.
and I think it all we could discuss that for a long time with good
Mm,
reason, partly on this podcast, but also on our other one, the alien spaceship,
mm,
because the premise, and I think we all need to say it without any trace of bitterness,
mm,
because in many ways you, I, and those around us, we're the lucky one. We're some of the lucky ones. When you think
mm,
where some people are born into abject poverty and in countries that don't function properly and all sorts of things. Even within countries, people can be born into pretty poor, pretty dire circumstances. You know, that
mm,
is part of life. Hopefully, there is a majority who have a life which they say, yeah, life is good. Problems, we all have problems, but
mm,
life is pretty good. But
mm,
yeah, I think you're right that it comes down to one simple sentence that life is unfair. And I think if we adopt that without bitterness and say, yeah, life is unfair, but hey, I'm one of the lucky ones because
mm,
I don't go without food, I don't go without shoes, I don't, and frankly, no one in this country should ever go without shoes. I
mm,
think we sometimes say the wrong things are said, which indicate there is that level of poverty. Now, some may say, listening to me, well, what do you know? But I think there's enough safety nets for people not to go without basic food and provisions and clothing sort of thing. But
mm,
as I say, without getting into all that, life is unfair. That is the very nature of life. Some people will have more than others, but it's not just inherited necessarily. Some people work a lot harder to achieve what they want than others.
mm,
Some people sit back and think, well, I can't be bothered, or I'm not very good at something, and they don't. They might get a bit frustrated when they see someone else who sort of flaunts their wealth. I mean, I'm not that I'm going along with that, but I guess if we're looking at material possession and things we all sort of want or need,
mm,
then life is unfair. And I
mm,
think if we embrace that and say, yeah, it is, but I'm just thankful for this shot at life that I've got. No one has a perfect life. No one does, however
mm,
rich or whatever they are. Some have an easier life than others. But yeah, I think I consider I'm very fortunate to live a life on this planet. And
mm,
so football, in many ways, is the same as I was explaining about being a Palace fan and the fans of all the other, or most of the other clubs in the Premier League. We have to say, yeah, it's an unfair system that the top
mm,
three or four clubs buy all the best players from around the world, and they're going to win the league pretty much every year. It's
mm,
unfair, but hey, I see it. I'm still in the Premier League with Palace, as you are with Manchester United, and they
mm.
could come good. They're going to be one of those teams up there as well, I suspect. So yeah, we have to accept it and fight for what we think is fairness as far as we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, okay, so let's get back to to football.
Apologies, I went off a bit of a
No, that's
tangent
fine.
there.
That's fine. That's fine. Now, now Marcus Rashford for Manchester United. Let's look at that. Marcus Rashford offered. So Manchester United offered Marcus Rashford swap chance to complete 51 million transfer. But he's turned it down. No, no, no. Barcelona turned down the chance to sign the England star on a permanent deal. So he's set to remain at Manchester United. What sort of conflict would that cause there at Manchester United?
Yeah, I mean, you as a Man United fan, you probably know better than I. But my perception is that we all know he left there where both sides, he and the club, were not really on talking terms, or not very much. And it
Mm,
was probably an important time for him to escape and go to Barcelona. I think initially he went to, was it Villa? I think he went there initially, but then on to Barcelona on loan.
Mm.
To me, if Man United are saying 51 million, two questions come to mind. Why not 50 million? Why 51 million? There must be
Yeah.
some strange reason for that. And the other question is, why are you asking that much? You know you don't really want him back politically within your club. I don't know what the fans think there. You will know better than I, but he didn't go out on the friendliest terms with the club. And
Mm.
so I would have thought they might make it attractive for Barcelona to say, well, okay, he's played for us. He's a good player. He was in the
Mm.
World Cup with England. We don't mind paying 40 million or 35 million. But to go for 51 million strikes me as a bit of an odd number. Why not 50 million? But that, to me, we talked about market values. I don't think now I will put him at the 50 million touch. I'd be thinking more of a bargain at 30 or 35 million. So yeah, if he goes back there,
Mm.
I don't know. I would think he might want to move on somewhere else. Having said that, I mean, Michael Carrick, I don't think was the manager when he was there, so he might feel with new players come in, and some gone. It's going to be a different kind of mindset there now. Different players, different group of players. Maybe he would feel, yeah, I'd like to muck in and play my football there. But I just have a feeling that for a player from our country having played a season or however long it was in Spain, in Barcelona,
Mm.
and I know it's kind of risking going off football again, but it is relevant. I mean, I was in Barcelona a few weeks ago, and as you possibly know if you've been there, it's the most fabulous city.
Mm.
I'm sure it's got its downside, but a beautiful place, and the sunshine, the weather. So, a footballer, I can totally understand why Messi, for example, spent most of his career there from South America because it's a great place to live and a great city to play your football in. So, I would imagine Rashford would. I don't know. This is my own surmising, but I would think he would probably ideally want to stay there if they would have him. And so
Mm.
he would encourage Man United to put on a sensible price. Because like, if I were Barcelona, I probably wouldn't pay 51 million. So I don't know. Much might depend on what the fans think. You can tell me what do the fans think of him and the prospect of him coming back to Old Trafford.
Well, I don't think the fans want him there anyway, so that's just
Mm.
that's just as simple as that. I don't want him there. Um, and I don't think any of the fans want him there as well. But the thing with Rashford is, I can't remember now. Correct me if I'm wrong. Has he played with the manager before? Um,
I would think I don't know that for a fact, but I would think
right,
he did. Because he Michael Carrick was there a few years ago now.
right.
He came up, didn't he, from Tottenham, I believe, a few years ago, and I'm sure that would have been within the same time frame as Rashford.
Yeah, so I must have played with Rashford then. Yeah. Um, I think there might be a big-headedness there because, if used to be your teammate and now you're my
Yeah,
manager trying to tell me what to do,
it happens though. It does happen. I
it
think.
does. It does,
Yeah, it does
absolutely.
happen in life as well, but it happens in
It does.
football where,
Yeah.
generally, I think that probably works. I mean, you could say the same about Harry Maguire, possibly. I don't know whether he was there
Yeah.
when Carrick was there, possibly not. But yeah, I mean, you may play alongside somebody at international level, in the past, and then
Mm.
nowadays they're your manager. I think it happens. I don't think that's
Yeah.
really much of an issue if you get on with
Oh,
that person, certainly.
yeah. Yeah. Well, let's see. See how it goes. But I don't see who they're going to substitute for him. I don't really know. I don't know because there will still be some in the management that might not want him there. They might think we
Yeah,
just we
yeah.
you know we just want to get rid of this problem. Just go somewhere, anywhere. Just go.
Anyway, Yeah.
I would think that, if I was Rashford, I would take an offer for like, 35 million, take a reduced pay cut and
Mm.
then try to prove myself, because I do think he's got something in him. I do think he's got something in him, but it might just be, you know, you could have somebody that is really, really nice, and it might just be the way that they come across to you. They might be loud or not to, because you never see him smile that much, Rashford.
No,
So
you
I don't
don't really. No,
know. No,
no,
you
you
don't.
don't.
No, he
You
doesn't
don't.
smile.
Some people, some players, or people, you don't. Some people just don't smile a lot, do they?
That's true. That's
But
true.
you're right. He's one.
Yeah,
You go some way to find a photograph of him smiling. It just may be his nature, his demeanour. Probably nothing in
yeah,
that.
right,
But
yeah,
yeah, he
yeah.
doesn't smile a lot.
Yeah, but it doesn't make people comfortable around you if you don't smile. You know,
Mm.
I don't know, just me. Right, so the next one is Chelsea leads the race to sign Jordan Henderson for free with the former Liverpool captain open to joining. Now, this it's like a gift that keeps giving. Jordan Henderson, you think, right, okay, he's gone to Saudi. He's gone to Saudi now, he's going to stay there and then retire when he comes back. But he comes back and is still very much wanted.
Mm.
What's the secret?
Yeah, I mean, I raised him earlier. Sorry to have jumped in before you
No, it's
raised
fine.
his name, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, he didn't stay that long in Saudi. I think actually the team he joined was just outside of Saudi Arabia. Can't think of the actual country it was, but very close. But I don't think he particularly, or his family particularly, liked the hot weather and all the rest of it. I mean,
No.
I'm sure that was said at some stage anyway. But yeah, he came out, and I don't think he came out as he was probably expecting to be there longer because I think he came out quite early, and at some point he went to Ajax in Holland in the Netherlands,
Mm,
and then of course came back to Brentford. I think it was probably his wish to come back to the Premier League for obvious reasons. I mean, he was a good footballer for Liverpool, very good footballer, and he played for England at that time. Of course, he was a good midfield, creative guy, great passer of the ball. You may remember, just as an aside almost, that at one point he was not just rumoured, I think he was going to Manchester United when Ferguson was the manager, and he sort of failed a medical. Now, I'm not sure he actually failed it, but I remember quite clearly, really, Ferguson saying, no, we're not going to sign him now because my medical people say at some stage you'll have problems with his knees.
mm,
And I seem to remember them saying because of the way he runs, something like that. And I thought that was a really interesting reason to not sign somebody. But also, why would you explain that in public? I mean, I suppose you might explain it rather than say he failed a medical, which technically I don't think he did. But if the powers that be, the medical powers that be, thought, well, yeah, he runs in a bit of a cack-handed way. It's not a very good analogy there, but he runs in a different sort of way, and that eventually could tell on his knees. I may be wrong, but it was something along those lines, and so they didn't sign him. But that obviously didn't stop his transfer to Saudi. I don't know whether it was a free move back to Ajax or Brentford. Possibly they were free moves and not paid for. And I
mm.
think it's a free move to Chelsea as well. So, and has he got something to offer still? I think he has. He's obviously very good around the dressing room with the spirit he's got. He probably is a good glue for the players, and he's a good link as the captain. If he probably won't be captain at Chelsea, or he might be, but a good
Mm.
link from the team to the manager. He's got that experience like that. So I can totally see why Chelsea might want him, even if he doesn't end up sort of starting every game. Because I mean, he is in his 30s now, isn't he? And although I'm not saying he's finished physically, I'm sure he's not. But players often get to a point where they don't start every game. But he will start some, and then if he comes off, if the manager thinks he's had an hour or whatever, he'll pass his captain's armband if he is made captain to somebody else, and that may be the sort of season he's going to have. I don't see him starting every game and being captain of the year. I think he'll be a good captain when he's playing, but I think they'll use him sparingly, to get the best out of him. And
Mm.
when players get to, well, I don't know what he is, 33, 34, then they do need to be used sparingly so they don't, get exhausted. I think we saw in the World Cup, one or two of our players towards the end were clearly shattered. I mean, I know some of the games were in hot weather, some were in the air-conditioned stadiums, but when you get to a certain age, you don't have the pace that you used to have. So I think he'll be effective if he's used properly.
Very good. Yeah. I mean, I love the guy. I love the guy. He's cool-headed, he's level-headed, and
Yeah.
he must have a lot of football experience for him to be sought after like that. So, well, good luck to him.
And
Yeah.
he's very good as well at falling over advertising boards, isn't he? And breaking his wrist. I don't
Oh yeah,
laugh about that. It's probably
did
very
I?
painful, but
I know
he
he did
did that.
that
But
well.
he was back. He was back with the squad very quickly. I think he had some surgery, and then a
Mm.
day or two later, he was back with the squad. So he's obviously healed up on that one, I imagine.
Yeah, yeah. Right. Okay. So, we've had rule changes for the FIFA World Cup. Now, Premier League refereeing rule changes for the next season. You'll be glad to know this. So, if a player gets injured, they now have to leave the pitch for a minute. Previously, 30 seconds. Did we know that? I thought it was
Yeah.
always in it. Oh, right, okay. So it's 30
Yeah,
seconds.
if they get injured, the trainer comes on, the trainers come on, they take them off. He can't come back on for 30 seconds. But as you say, I think they're increasing that to 1 minute.
1 minute, yeah. Okay. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think it's good, and I think there's also that they're waiting. The FA, the Premier League, they're waiting for, I think, the sanction, the agreement of UEFA or possibly FIFA. I don't know which one, to a slight alteration to that as well, because the one exception was if the goalkeeper went down, which in most of the Premier League, I think most goalkeepers, surprisingly, strangely, go down injured. They sit on the floor in the last 5 or 10 minutes, especially if they're winning or whatever, or drawing against a much better side. And of course, that simply means it can go down. The trainers inevitably have to be allowed on. The other players go and get their drink and get instructions, to how to do this, that, and the other. So it's a bit of a con. Not always. There's bound to be, crying wolves. One day a goalkeeper will have a serious injury. Hopefully not. But
Mm,
now what? And of course, then wouldn't go off for 30 seconds because you can't not have a goalkeeper. So what they're now saying is, if he goes down and they have to come on to treat him, then when he gets up, another player has to go off for 1 minute. Now, I don't know how that, I suppose the manager would select which player's got to come off. As I say, when I read about this the other day, they still seem to be waiting for confirmation that they can do this. Probably UEFA, I suppose. And I'm sure it will work because everybody knows, in the frenzied last 5 or 10 minutes where a team is trying to equalise, for example, and then the goalkeeper of the other team's goalkeeper just sits down, stops all the momentum, and you feel it's done quite deliberately so that the players can have a rest, they can just disturb the momentum, basically. So I think it's a good move as long as it is allowed, and I expect it will be. I mean, on the point of those rule changes, we always said, or I always said, and possibly you did as well, before the World Cup, that 5 seconds for a throw in, that's not going to work. But of course, it didn't work really because the player would pick up the ball and they didn't really rush to do that. Now, I do think some throw-ins were quicker, And they didn't see many of the long throws, did we, where they go out and do this and
Yeah.
wait and really long throw. We didn't see much of that. So maybe it achieved its objective. But when he picked up the ball, he then walked to the touchline. And if like 2 or 3 seconds went by, you saw the ref counting to five, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the player then knew he had to release it by five. But on the point of five, I think most of every time I would say from when he picked up the ball, or certainly when he got the ball he was going to pick up, 10 or 15 seconds passed by because the
Mm.
ref waited a bit before he sort of said, hang on a minute, you've only got 5 seconds. So it was a bit, what's the word? It was disingenuous to say they've got 5 seconds. But no doubt they will carry that on because it will cut out the long throw, won't it? Where one of the defenders, who's the long throw specialist, runs over and it seems to take forever to actually take the throw. So if it cuts that out, which is really time wasting, then I think it's a good thing. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what other rule changes we might see.
Yeah. Well, 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 well analyzed because that was the next one I was coming to.
I got in first again.
No, that's fine. Right. So the next one was 5 second countdown for throw-ins and free kicks and goal kicks, sorry. That's always been there, right? Or are they?
The goal kicks, yeah, they are. What is it? The goalkeeper can't. I mean, last season he
Hmm,
couldn't hold the ball for more than 8 seconds. He had to put it
right.
on the floor, and I don't think it happened very often. But if he held it for longer, eight or more than 8 seconds, a corner was given. Now, I think I only ever remember
Hmm,
on TV, Match of the Day or Sky or something, ever only seeing once. I think that happening. Now, it must have happened once or twice more, but I suppose the goalkeeper's got the message: don't hold on the ball, so no one can
hmm.
come and try and get it off you. So all they got to do is put it on the floor, as long as no one, an opposition player, isn't near them. Yeah. Now I thought that changed in the World Cup, and some again, I'm not 100% on this, but I have a feeling it was like 6 seconds.
Hmm.
Did you have a memory on that? I don't
Um,
think it
I,
was eight. I don't think
I
it was
don't
eight
think
seconds.
I don't think it was like if it was, I don't think they enforced it, the
No,
rule. I
no,
don't think so,
no.
yeah. Yeah, I think, well, they did say it was going to be five, because we did talk about it on this show about the new FIFA rules before the World Cup started. And I think
Yeah,
now they're rolling it out to the Premier League as well. I wonder what UEFA thinks of it.
yeah,
Um, Maybe they're
yeah.
going to adopt it as well. Who knows? Um, Now the next one is time wasting will lead to possession being overturned. Uh,
Possession. Well,
Yeah, yeah. So time wasting will lead to possession being overturned. And then the next one is VAR can prevent second yellows being
right.
given. So somebody's been booked once. Now he commits another offense. Now the referee's already brought out a second yellow and a red subsequently.
Mm.
VAR can then say halt. Because I don't think the VAR had that much power over the second yellow. Did we? Did they
No,
used to?
I don't think it could be reviewed and overruled. But
Hmm.
clearly now that is what's going to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
But again, what I found strange on the point of VAR in the World Cup, it was
Hmm.
notable, in my opinion, by its absence. Not least in when Argentina played England, nothing, potential fouls or whatever against Argentina seemed to be referred to the VAR. And I always understood every goal that's scored in the Premier League or around the world is just checked. I don't believe the commentators were not saying, oh, VAR is just checking that. A lot of stuff, and particularly some of the bad fouls, were not even checked. And
Yeah.
often Argentina seemed to be involved, and it was seemingly to their benefit. But generally, I wasn't under the impression that VAR was used very much. And I thought maybe it's done very smoothly and quickly. I mean, here we're used to it taking 3 or 4 minutes sometimes to check a corner or whatever. Um, I mean, that's something else they can also check. They can
Hmm.
reverse a corner decision, which was in the World Cup, and that was good because two or three at least times a ref gave a corner or didn't give a corner, VAR did reverse it. So it was used for a few things. But when I think it should have been used, whether a goal should have been scored because of an offside or a foul. And yet, when they did use it against, I think it was against Egypt, a beautiful goal, which would have been one of the goals of the tournament, and yet VAR took it right back. I don't know how long, but maybe a minute in the play to a foul, so called. It wasn't even given as a foul by the ref. And I think that was one of the examples where the fans and a lot of other teams felt that there's a bias in favour of Argentina, and that brilliant goal by Egypt was ruled out. It would have made them two up at the time, so it was still one. They did still get another goal subsequently, but of course lost 3-2 near the end of the game.
Hmm.
So I couldn't understand why this tool, VAR, which is on a good day, its idea is excellent, it didn't seem to be being used. Now, whether that
Hmm.
was to favour some teams instead of others, we'll never know. But but yeah, but if it can check yellow cards, because a second yellow, of course, means someone's got to leave the pitch. And if
Hmm.
I've never really understood why that hasn't been reviewable before, except you may say it's not a clear and obvious error. If a ref sees enough to give someone a second yellow, then it's got to be a pretty heavy mistake. But they do happen.
Hmm.
And if
Yeah.
VAR can look at that like it now does corners, then that's got to be good. But I still think we need consistency, which I don't think we saw in the World Cup, even in the sense that it didn't seem to be used very much.
No, no, it was just absent. And I
It was.
think the issue about whether they were biased against other teams when it came to Argentina, I think that's been established. You got the eyes. The
Yeah,
eyes is the proof. We all
yeah,
saw what VAR didn't see. Anyway, now VAR can't give second yellows. So VAR cannot give second
no,
yellows.
right.
It seems a bit contradictory to the one that says VAR can prevent second yellows being given. Now VAR can't give second yellows. Do you understand that?
Well, it sounds like if that's the way it is, it only works one way, so they can remove
Prevent
a
it.
second yellow and stop someone being sent off. But if if I suppose if a foul is checked and they feel it's worthy of a second yellow and therefore sending off, I suppose what they're
Mm,
saying is the VAR ref shouldn't have the power to get someone sent off the pitch.
mm,
And you've got to say, why would VAR check a foul that wasn't yellowed or second yellowed, except for it could be a sending off offence on its own. It could be and I think they could probably say, yeah, that was a red card offence in itself, which
mm,
is not giving a second yellow. But what they can't say is, no, that's bad enough for a yellow card, a second one as it happens,
mm,
because that is really more within the ref's purview. I think it's for the ref to say that's a foul. I've blown for a foul, and I think it was a card. I
mm,
don't think. I mean, up to now, VAR can't say we've looked at that foul, ref. It should be a yellow card. They can say we think it should be a red card. Go and look at the monitor. So yeah,
mm.
I can understand that. They shouldn't have the power to start awarding yellow cards. No,
Yeah, okay. That's sorted. Now, Valentina Caventes, who happens to be Enzo Fernandez's partner, has reportedly revealed the Chelsea midfielder is considering not returning to England after the World Cup.
I think he's scared stiff, isn't he? Is he? Is that serious? Is he really?
Well, that's what it says. Sources say Enzo fears the backlash he could face from the fans.
Yeah, but he's got a contract. I expect he can't just decide not to, unless he's out of contract. He
Yeah,
can't just decide not to go back. And I
yeah.
think he will get a backlash as well. I think, to be honest, and I don't advocate spiteful reactions to players, it's not worth it. I mean,
No.
it's just the way of the game in the World Cup. But
Mm,
I think a lot of the players. I mean, McAllister, he was quite dirty 2 or 3 times at least. So he could get a bit of a backlash. I don't think they'll get backlashes from their own fans. I think they will maybe to get wound up by opposition fans, but I think it would reflect, a very over physical fouling performance by
mm,
so many Argentina players in the first parts of our game with them,
mm,
pushing our players over as they did other teams, and they got away with it all, and that leaves a bad taste. I mean, I was watching, I think it was yesterday, a clip of Messi. He was
mm,
facing, so I don't know what the opposition was, I can't remember, but in the World Cup, he was dribbling, facing an opposition player, and he was trying to dribble around and all the rest of it. And he almost tripped over his own legs and fell over, at which point he sort of curls up a bit, holding his face. And the commentator made a comment to the effect, I've never seen anything so dishonest and stupid. And I think, and I can't, I mean, the linesman ran there in case there was a bit of a, because the player who Messi was trying to get round, they hadn't even connected at all. And he just put his hands up when Messi fell over, tripped over
mm.
himself, really. And the linesman sort of ran there as if worried maybe there'd be a reaction from, but there wasn't. And the ref comes over, and I'm not sure what happened after that. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if the guy was booked, but there's no way they could do that because
No.
the linesman must have seen they didn't touch. But I don't think Messi did his own reputation
Any
as
good?
any good at all because as when he tried to get Cucurella booked, for when he sort of just touched his mouth, didn't speak. Oh, he turns to the ref. This is at the end of the game, of course, and tries to get Cucurella booked or sent off for racism. No, we all know he's a great player, but to me, he's very much tarnished his reputation. Really has.
Yeah, yeah. It was just it was just a really dirty tactics that the Argentinians employed or deployed, as the case may be. It's just, it's that wasn't football. What they
No, it
did
wasn't.
wasn't football. What they
Yeah.
did against what they did against Egypt wasn't football. What they did against
No.
England, and certainly what they did against Spain in the finals was definitely not football. But they seem to have got
Are
away with
we?
it. Yeah.
Are we at the time? I think
Oh
we're
yeah,
running on
yes, we are. Yeah. Oh
the.
damn. Yeah, I just carried on. I just carried on. Right. Okay. So this is all we've got time for on this segment of the football referee, the first segment. We're now going over to the second segment. Thanks for watching and listening. I've been Emmy Hickins, and he calls me Cuz.
And I'm Trevor Gear, and he calls me bro.
Oh yeah, I do call him bro. So it's a goodbye from me on this segment.
Goodbye from me too.